The dust carries the whispers of your unspoken fears, drifting across the endless Texas plains like invisible threads that wrap themselves around your mind. At first, you think it is just the wind, moving aimlessly through the cracked earth and skeletal remains of forgotten towns. But the longer you stand there, the more you realize that the wind is not empty. It carries voices, soft, haunting, insistent, that echo every doubt you have ever tried to hide, every fear you have ignored, every hesitation you have justified, every moment you told yourself, "Not now," rises to the surface, and suddenly the desert is alive with all the things you refuse to face. The dust is not just dirt and sand. It is memory, it is warning, it is the unrelenting mirror of your inner mind, reflecting every insecurity you have tried to bury under noise, distraction, and routine. As you walk through the dry expanse, each step stirring the swirling particles beneath your feet, you begin to hear them more clearly. They are not loud, but they are persistent. They speak in the rhythm of your heartbeat, in the whisper of your own thoughts, in the pause of your breath. They remind you of the risks you never took, the opportunities you let pass, the courage you abandoned. In the emptiness of the plains, there is no one to talk you down, no voices to soothe you, no comfort except your own awareness. It is in this harsh, desolate silence that fear reveals itself fully, not as something external, but as something that lives inside you, waiting for the perfect moment to assert its control. The dust does not create fear. It exposes it, magnifies it, and holds it in your face until you cannot look away. Most people never confront such silence. They flee from it, filling their lives with noise and distraction. Because the moment they truly listen, the truth is undeniable. The whispers in the dust reveal the full extent of the hesitation that has held them back. Every dream unpursued, every plan abandoned, every voice silenced by doubt rises up in that vast, empty landscape. And the fear of seeing it all reflected back is almost unbearable. The desert seems endless, and the shadows of your own indecision stretch further than the horizon. Each ripple of dust in the wind becomes a reminder that you have not acted, that you have allowed uncertainty to dictate your path, and that the longer you wait, the heavier the burden of inaction becomes. Yet the dust is not cruel. It is a teacher. Every whisper of fear is also a call to courage. The voices exist not to paralyze you, but to push you to confront what you have ignored. They force you to name your fears, to acknowledge the excuses, to examine the hesitations that you have rationalized as safety. The moment you recognize that the dust carries these whispers for a purpose, a shift occurs. What once haunted you begins to instruct you. You realize that the fears have power only if you allow them to dominate your choices, only if you continue to silence your own voice in their presence. The winds of the plains may howl, and the dust may sting your skin, but every step forward diminishes the hold those whispers have on you. Courage is built not in the absence of fear, but in stepping into it, walking through it, and refusing to be stopped by it. As the day stretches on, and the sun beats down on the cracked earth, you begin to feel a strange clarity. The voices in the dust, persistent as they are, no longer intimidate you, they guide you. Every whisper of doubt becomes a signal to act. Every shadow of hesitation a reminder that growth exists only in movement. The vast emptiness around you mirrors the opportunities within your life that you have left untapped, and the endless plains remind you that your potential is not confined by the limitations you have imagined. Standing there, surrounded by dust, wind, and silence, you begin to sense the transformation taking place within yourself. The whispers are no longer just echoes of fear. They are markers on the path toward resilience, strength, and unwavering courage as silence hides the regrets we refuse to face. And in the wide, barren stretches of the Texas dust, that silence becomes almost suffocating. The plains stretch endlessly, unbroken except for the skeletal remains of old windmills and abandoned homesteads, and the wind moves through them carrying more than just dry earth. It carries echoes of the choices you never made, the risks you never took, and the words you never spoke. At first, it is easy to ignore, thinking that the emptiness is simply nature, that the quiet is just the lack of sound. But as the sun dips lower, casting long, distorted shadows across the cracked ground, the silence grows heavier, almost alive, pressing against your chest and reminding you that every moment you avoid, the truth adds weight to your soul. The dust, the wind, the endless horizon, They are all witnesses to the paths you abandoned and the courage you left behind. As you walk, your footsteps sound unnaturally loud against the desolate plains. Each crunch a reminder of how far you have walked without confronting what haunts you. The silence is patient. It does not scream. It does not demand, but it waits for you to notice it. And when you do, the regrets begin to take shape. Faint outlines of choices not made, moments of hesitation, and opportunities missed form like specters in the dust, drifting around your feet as if mocking your fear. Every shadow, every flicker of movement in the corner of your eye, is a reflection of what you have avoided, the decisions you postponed, the challenges you shied away from, and the potential you told yourself you were not ready for. The silence does not create these specters. It simply reveals them, magnifying what has always been present within you, forcing you to face the truths you have tried so hard to ignore. Most people flee from this kind of stillness, filling their lives with noise, distractions, and obligations that mask the emptiness inside. They avoid places like the Texas dust because the quiet reflects their inner hesitations, and the echoes of silence make their regrets unbearable. But the plains are unrelenting. They wait, and the dust whispers the same lessons over and over, until you finally hear. You cannot escape yourself in such a place, and the longer you try to run, the more vivid the reminders become. The wind carries not just dust, but the weight of every choice deferred, every ambition abandoned, every moment when fear triumphed over action. In this barren expanse, the silence is a teacher, cruel but honest, showing you exactly what your life has been missing, because you refused to step forward when it mattered most. And yet, within this oppressive quiet, there is clarity. Once the initial discomfort of facing your regrets fades, you begin to see the lessons hidden in the stillness. The silence becomes a space for reflection, a mirror that shows not only what has been lost, but what can still be reclaimed. Every regret is transformed into insight, every missed opportunity into motivation, every unspoken word into a prompt to act. The dust, heavy with whispers, becomes a guide. It teaches you that regret is not permanent, that fear is not invincible, and that the moments you have squandered are not chains, but lessons, waiting to be understood. It reminds you that acknowledging what you have avoided is the first step toward reclaiming control and moving forward with purpose. As you continue across the plains, the shadows grow longer, the wind sharper, and the weight of the silence more tangible. Yet something changes within you. The regret that once pressed against your chest begins to fuel a quiet determination. Each whisper from the dust becomes an invitation to act, each flicker of shadow a signal that the courage to face your fears exists within you. The silence, once unbearable, becomes a source of strength, a crucible where hesitation is tested and resilience is forged. You realize that the voices in the wind do not condemn you. They challenge you, and in doing so, they give you the power to rise above every hesitation, every fear, and every regret that has lingered in the corners of your mind. Every wind in the plains echoes a lesson from failure, and in the Texas dust, those echoes are impossible to ignore. The air itself seems heavy with memory, carrying the remnants of lives that have been lived and abandoned, choices made and regretted, and ambitions that never saw the light of day. Each gust rattles the bones of old structures, whispers through the hollow remains of barns, and swirls around skeletal fences, as if the land itself is speaking directly to you. At first, you might think these sounds are mere wind, meaningless and natural. But the longer you listen, the more you realize they are reflections of the mistakes, fears, and doubts you have carried for years. The plains are silent, but within that silence, every failure you have ever experienced resonates, creating a rhythm that demands attention, a pattern you cannot ignore. As you move through the dust, your footsteps disturb the cracked earth, sending clouds of sand swirling into the air. Within those spirals, almost imperceptible shapes begin to appear. Figures of past attempts that faltered, dreams that collapsed, moments when you hesitated and let opportunity pass. The wind plays tricks on your eyes, and the desert seems alive, responding to the weight of your own history. Shadows stretch unnaturally long in the fading light, merging with the shapes in the dust, making it difficult to distinguish the real from the imagined. And yet, in that unsettling ambiguity lies the lesson: failures are never entirely external. They exist in the spaces where hesitation, fear, and inaction meet, and they grow stronger when ignored. The Texas dust does not lie. It reveals everything you have left unfinished, everything you have left behind, and everything you have refused to confront. Most travelers in this desolate land turn away from the lessons the plains offer. They avoid the wind-swept roads, the empty barns, and the abandoned homesteads because they cannot bear the reflection of their own mistakes. It is easier to fill the mind with noise, distractions, and meaningless tasks than to face the truth that each gust is a reminder of a moment where courage faltered. Yet the plains do not relent. They wait. Every time the wind whistles through the broken boards of a fence, or rattles the roof of a forgotten shed, it carries a question. What will you do differently now? The echoes of failure are not meant to punish. They are meant to guide, to illuminate the places where you have room to grow, to show you the patterns that have held you back, and the strength you already possess to overcome them. And as you stand in the midst of this quiet desolation, the lessons of failure begin to transform. You start to see that each misstep, each missed chance, each moment of hesitation is a building block, not a barrier. The wind in the plains begins to feel less like a haunting, and more like a teacher, blowing away illusions of permanence in failure and clearing the way for new understanding. Shadows that once seemed threatening now appear as markers, guiding your attention to the areas of life that require courage, focus, and resilience. Every echo becomes an invitation to act, every swirl of dust a reminder that your past does not define you, but it can instruct you. Failure is not the end, it is a tool, and the plains show this in every gust, in every echo, and in every whisper carried across the horizon. As the sun dips lower and the sky turns to muted gold and crimson, the Texas dust teaches you the final truth. The winds will always blow, the shadows will always stretch, and the echoes of failure will never cease. But neither will your capacity to rise above them. Every failure, every mistake, every moment of hesitation is simply another voice carried by the wind, waiting for you to listen, to learn, and to move forward with the courage to do better, to try again, and to claim the potential that has always been within you. Courage begins when the voices grow loudest, and in the Texas dust, those voices are impossible to ignore. The wind sweeps across the endless plains, rattling dry fences, stirring the sand into swirling clouds, and carrying whispers that seem to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. At first, they are subtle, almost drowned out by the rhythm of your own thoughts. But as you continue to walk, the whispers sharpen, pressing against your awareness, demanding recognition. They speak of moments you held back, of risks you never took, of words left unsaid, and they echo in the empty spaces between the abandoned homesteads and skeletal trees. In the stillness of the desert, the voices are not just sounds, they are challenges, tests, and provocations, forcing you to confront the parts of yourself you have avoided for far too long. And in that confrontation, courage begins to form, quiet but undeniable, like a flickering flame in a vast, dark landscape. As you step forward through the shifting dust, you feel the weight of the plains pressing against your chest. Every gust of wind seems to carry reminders of hesitation, every ripple of sand the footprints of opportunities missed. The voices grow louder, almost tangible, and you realize that fear is not being projected from the outside. It lives inside you, amplified by the silence of the desert. Most people never hear these voices clearly, or if they do, they turn away, seeking comfort in noise, distraction, or routine. But in this desolate environment, there is no escape, no comfort, no distraction. The silence allows only one option: to listen, to acknowledge the truth, and to take action despite the fear that thrums in your veins. The Texas dust does not reward avoidance, it rewards confrontation. And courage is born in the crucible of that relentless awareness. The abandoned barns and wind, ravaged homesteads serve as reminders of what happens when courage is absent. Their broken timbers, sagging roofs, and cracked foundations are monuments to hesitation and inaction. As you pass by them, you see reflected your own potential, abandoned not because it was impossible, but because fear kept you from trying. The voices in the dust remind you that every step forward is an act of defiance against inertia, that moving despite uncertainty is the essence of bravery. They whisper of the strength that has always existed within you, waiting to be awakened, waiting for the moment when the quiet is no longer bearable and action becomes unavoidable. In this place, courage is not a sudden spark, but a steady flame, building as you face the whispers that try to hold you back. Even as shadows lengthen across the plains and the last light of day filters through the haze of dust, you begin to notice subtle signs of transformation. Each whisper of fear becomes a challenge met, each flicker of hesitation an opportunity seized. The wind no longer seems threatening, but becomes a partner in your resolve, pushing against you, testing your commitment, and shaping your determination. You begin to understand that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act in spite of it. It is cultivated in moments when the voices are loudest, when the silence presses hardest, when every instinct tells you to turn back. In these moments, the desert is alive with possibility, every echo in the wind a prompt to claim your own strength. As you move deeper into the endless plains, the Texas dust teaches a subtle but profound lesson. Courage grows in layers, built with every step forward, every decision to confront the unknown, and every act of perseverance in the face of internal and external shadows. The voices that once intimidated you now serve as guides, mapping the path through uncertainty, showing where you have resisted before and where your power lies. Standing amidst the swirling dust, the skeletal trees, and the fading light, you begin to feel the quiet rise of an unstoppable force within you. A determination born from listening, acknowledging, and responding. In the wilderness of the plains, courage is not a gift, it is earned, and it grows the moment you choose to walk into the wind, confront the voices, and refuse to let fear dictate your path.